Hi everyone. So now we're going to look at lesson 8.4, which is talking about using mental math, so math that we can solve in our head and not use paper, pencil to have to solve it. So your I can statement for this is I can use mental math to add. Our solve and share. A school store sold 436 pencils last week and 28 pencils today. Use mental math to find how many pencils were sold in all. Explain how you found your answer. So, I'm going to show an example of work that you could have done for this. And I know in like lower grades, like when you've gone over math and learned math, um, making tens and like taking away from one number and adding it to another number is something you've gone over. So that's what I'm going to show in my example, just so then you can hopefully make sense of this. So the school store sold 436 last week and 28 today. So we have to find out how many they sold in all. So I have to find out 436 plus 28. That's my problem that I need to figure out. That's what I need to solve. So what I can do is add 436 plus 4. Why are you adding 4? Why would you add 4 to that? I'm adding 4 because if I add 4 more to 436, that will give me 440. And this is where it'll like look like we're rounding, but we're not. But we want our answers to end in 0 if possible, or to have one of our numbers end in 0, because then adding in our head should make it a little bit easier. So after we have our 440, we're going to take 440 and we're going to add our 28 to it. Which will then give us 468. And then, since I added 4 here just to get 440, I then still need to take away that 4. So I have to do 468 minus 4, which would give me 464. For this lesson, yes, I think it's important that you should be able to solve some math equations and problems in your head, especially when it comes to bigger numbers. As you get into the upper grades, it'll be important. But if you would rather set it up looking like this, and add by writing it out, that's okay with me. Because is that all about the topic and lesson that we're doing right now? No. But is it a way that you can still solve the problem and find the answer? Yes. So if doing writing your equation this way and solving it like you normally would is more helpful to you, then you can definitely do that. Okay, I'm not going to get mad at you for choosing a different way to solve the problem as long as you're still solving it and it makes sense to you. Okay, moving down to the look back section. What is another way you can find 436 plus 28 using mental math? So if you were to take away from another number, I'm not going to show an example for this bottom part because yes, there are other ways you can solve it by like since I added 4 in the top, you could have added 2 to the 28, I guess. But again, as long as you're solving like the equation and you're getting the answer that you like need to get at the end of it, I'm okay with it. Okay, so this video may be a little bit shorter than others, just because I do think that mental math is important, but I also don't want you stressing over trying to solve something in your head if you can write it down and it makes more sense to you. Okay, the essential question, if you have flipped your page to page 424, is how can you add with mental math? So it says Dr. Gomez recorded how many whales, dolphins, and seals she saw. How many whales did she see during the 2 years? So it tells us the equation that we need to find. It says find 325 plus 114 using mental math. So the year 1 here, that's where they get the 325, and the year 2 here, 114, because they're asking how many whales she saw in the 2 years. So our data table comes in handy if they wouldn't have given us the equation, but since they did, I just wanted to highlight the information where they got those numbers. And the little speech bubble says, you can use mental math to add and solve this problem. Properties of addition let you reorder and group by place value. One way, add on to the first addend. So add on to the first number. Okay, that's all that they're talking about. So, or adding on to pick whichever one you want to be your first number. So they say you can break apart 114 into 100, 10, and 4. So showing it in the expanded form is a way to break apart the number. And then you can add 100 to 325, which will give you 425. And then add 10 to 425, okay, which will give you 435. And then last but not least, you still have your 4 left, which will give you then 439. So, excuse me, Dr. Gomez saw 439 whales. Another way is to break both of them apart, so to show both of them in expanded form. So you would add the hundreds together, and then you would add the tens together, and then you would add the ones together, like they show you right here. And then you would add all of it together at the end. So I think this way is helpful. I feel like it's for the another way. I like this way when I'm thinking about it better. But again, if the one in section B is more helpful to you, that's totally fine too. I just think that adding all of your hundreds together and all of your tens together and then all of your ones together and writing an equation that way, so like the one they have down here, is simpler than break apart 114, add to 100 to 325, add 325 plus 100 equals 425, and then you keep going and going and going. And I think it would be less mistakes possibly could be made if you follow the one in box C. So the one I just like drew a squiggle markup in. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. And I know that this topic, for some of you, you're going to be like, oh yeah, like that was easy. It's fine. I'm done with it. And for I think probably most of you, you're going to be like, what is this topic? Why do I have to add this in my head? I can write it down. You can write it down. I'm okay with that. I believe almost all teachers will be okay with you writing your work down. Unless there's a time where you really can't, that'll be the exception. But I'm fine with you writing your work down and solving it that way. Okay? So the Convince Me section at the bottom says model with math. Show how you can use the same 2 ways above to find the total number of dolphins seen. So in this section, if you followed the strategy, in the one way box, and it says the same 2 ways above. I'm just going to show one way. And since I already said another way was my favorite, if you did the one in the one way box, that's totally fine. But I am just going to show the equation for the another way section. So the another way would be to break apart 228 into, and also here when you're saying the number, okay, 228 gives me 200 plus 20 plus 8. Saying the number slowly will give you all the numbers you need to add together. 228, okay? And then I would break apart 171 into 100 plus 70 plus 1. So now I can start with my hundreds, or I can start with my tens, or I can start with my ones. I'm going to start with the hundreds. So 200 plus 100 gives me 300. Ooh. And then 20 plus 70 equals 90. And then 8 plus 1 is 9. So my total answer will be 399. Okay, so this is the another way example. Like I said, if you did the one way, that's fine. Okay, now we're going to look at another example. Sorry, I flipped the page. On page 425. It says you can make a 10 to add mentally. Find 228 plus 117. And it says there are many strategies you can use to add. If I were you, I would pick which one I like best and use that one all the time, unless the problem is telling you to use a different one. So like on the test maybe, or if like when there would be a test, it would say, use this strategy to solve this problem. If it doesn't say that, you can use whichever one you want. Okay? So it says to break apart 117, it would be 100 plus 15 plus 2. And in this case, it's not one where you can say 117 because you need the 3 numbers. And then it takes you through the other 3 steps right here. I'm going to keep going down. Compare the one way and another way on page 424. How are they the same? How are they different? So for this, I'm just going to give a verbal answer because my marker has somehow disappeared. I'm not really sure why this happens or what I'm doing wrong, so I apologize. So this part is where you really have to listen because I can't write anything else down right now. If it reappears, I'll definitely use it, but I just can't right now, so I apologize. So in both of them, so how are they the same? In both of the strategies, they are breaking apart the numbers. They are breaking apart the numbers into hundreds, tens, and ones. Okay, so the way they are the same, or in both boxes, or in both ways, they are breaking apart the numbers. In one way, they're only breaking apart one number. They're only breaking apart one of the numbers. In another way, they are breaking apart 2 numbers. They are breaking apart both of the numbers. You can pause it if you have to write that down, okay? I'm going to keep going on to number 2. It says, use mental math to find how many animals Dr. Gomez saw during year 2. Show your work. So for this, looking back at the data table on page 424, year 2, your 3 numbers that you're adding together are 114, 171, and 212. Now for this, I think if you solve it using the another way, that would be most helpful. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know where the markers went. The little screen things, I don't know how I clicked off of them or what I did wrong, but I'll try not to do it on the next video. So I'm going to move on to 3 and 4 and then give the answers for 5 through 8 at the bottom. So for 3, it says make a 10 to add 438 plus 126. 126 equals 2 plus 24 plus 100. So they did it backwards compared to what we've seen before. So usually the 100 would go first and then plus the 24 and then plus the 2. So you can do 738 plus 2 equals 740. And then 740 plus 24 gives you 764. And then 764 plus 100 gives you 864. So 738 plus 126 equals 864. So just make sure you use all of the numbers that you have broken down. So one mistake that I could foresee happening is you just using the 100 or just using the 24 or just using the 2 and the 24, using a combination of these numbers, just 2 of them. You need to make sure that you use all 2 numbers. So if you want to circle the numbers as you use them, if you want to cross them off, that's fine. I think until you get the hang of doing the mental math like this, or even writing your equations in this format for number 3, it would be helpful to you just to mark that you've actually used the number. For number 4, it says use breaking apart to add 325 plus 212. So they break apart 212 into 200 plus 10 plus 2. So 325 plus 200 will give you 525. 525 plus 10 gives you 535. So then you have to do 535 plus 2, which gives you 537. So 325 plus 212 equals 537. And if you look where you were supposed to add 325 plus 200, you should have written your answer, and then if you wanted to check it, look at the line underneath it. They give you the next step in the equation, and this first number should be your answer for your last equation. So that's a way to check it. And then in the bottom, I'm just going to give the answers for 5 through 8. The answer for number 5 is 296. The answer for number 6 is 479. The answer for number 7 is 801. And the answer for number 8 is 920. So if you made it to the end of this video, that's great. Have someone message me on your behalf, letting me know that you made it to the end of video 8.4, so I can give you some extra points. I'm sorry if this one didn't make as much sense as the other videos. I will see what I can do about getting the marker back in future videos. But like I said, find the strategy that works best for you when adding and stick with it. Okay, I miss all you guys. Bye.